So if you have the right time, you'll have the right price. Just look at the chart there at the right time. And if the market's running up, then you look for a place to sell it. This market's going down, you look for a place to buy it at the right time. The planets tell you when it's the right time.
Welcome everyone. Today I'm sitting down with Norm Winski, a former Chicago floor trader with over 50 years of experience in trading. Looking forward to talk, Norm, about your background, things you're doing, and also your method that you apply these days. So welcome back on the podcast. Good to have you here. So tell me a bit more about kind of what you do these days and kind of what your trading focuses on these days.
What do I focus on? I'm a market forecaster. I use planetary cycles to forecast the markets. I know a lot of your people, probably the majority of your people, seem to be trading the foreign currencies. All you have to do is go look up Google, new moon, full moon, and you'll see that the currencies turn a high percentage of the time on the new moon or full moon. That's just a small fraction of what I do. But there's a quick and easy experiment that you can do to see if there's anything to what I'm doing. So just go pick out your favorite currencies and see if they don't turn within a day of a new moon or full moon every month. You know, we're part of the solar system. We're living beings. We're made up of stardust. Did you know that? When the solar system and the universe were created, everything was made out of the same molecules. So we respond to what's going on in our solar system. One of the greatest traders of all time, especially considered one of the greatest traders and market technicians of the 20th century, was a fellow by the name of W.D. Gann. You can look him up in Wikipedia or Google him. There's plenty of information about him. And he's considered one of the greatest traders and market technicians of the 20th century. And his main timing tool was astrology. So that's what I'm doing. I'm following the same technique that some of the greatest market timers of all time did. Mr. Gann, another person well-known was, did you know that J.P. Morgan had an astrologer? Her name was Evangeline Adams. I own her library. So this is the kind of thing I'm pursuing. I'm not doing what everybody else is doing. Most people out there, Mr. Gann said that time was more important than price. If you have the right time, you'll have the right price. Most of the people out there are trying to forecast the price, and that's not working. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange did a study about 20 years ago, looked at all their accounts, and came to the conclusion that 95% of the people out there trading are not making any money. Most of those people are pursuing more conventional methods like forecasting price and your moving average oscillators. Those, man, you want to get on a path of losing money through moving averages and oscillators. Those are lagging indicators. What I'm doing is a leading indicator. It tells you in advance when to look for the market to turn.
Tell me more about how you begin trading. What brought you to trading in the first place?
What got me into trading in the first place is I was a teenager, 15 years old. 2 years before that, my father had passed away and left a trust fund full of stocks. My mom decided she was going to save us a large legal bill from our family attorney. She decided she was going to be the executor of the trust and that she would learn how to do that. My mom's background was really not as a business person. She was more as an artsy type person. And so my mom had a great character trait that when she was the person, when there was something that needed to be done, she would step forward and do it, whether she liked it or not. And that was there lies the catch. So she felt that since she was doing this and she was not really enjoying it, and she'd have to go talk to the bankers periodically, she would complain to me that she had to go talk to the bankers. And I, being 15, after a couple of years of hearing her complain about this, I decided I should try to help Mom at 15 years old. So this is back in the 1960s. I'm an old guy. And so I dove into the newspaper stock market listings and thought I could teach myself all about the stock market. I grew up in a small town in Indiana, and I didn't bother to go to the library or anything like that. I didn't have anybody to help me. I just created my own method for, trying to trade the stock market, and I did that. And then after a few months of study, I asked my mom if she would be willing to let me buy some stocks, and she said no. And so I just continued to study on my own until I got to college. About that same, not shortly after I got to college, I had an uncle who passed away and left me a small inheritance, and now I had my own money. And so then I continued to study, and then in my college town, I stumbled on astrology, and I started studying. I was fascinated from always as a sort of a natural-born amateur psychologist, which was really what hooked me into the stock market. I realized the stock market was 80–90% psychology. And that's when I was really interested. It was mass psychology. So I continued to study. And so then when I got the idea, studying astrology, that maybe there was a connection between astrology and the market. So one day I went in this bookstore and I found this book. It was a miracle finding a book where I was in Indiana. There, not many people doing astrology. I found one copy of this book, Donald Bradley's Stock Market Prediction, and it showed how you could correlate the planetary cycles with the stock market. And so I studied that and went back and researched it to see if what he was saying was right. And I found out it looked like it would look pretty good. And then when I turned 21, I bought my first stock and made enough money. I started doing that, made enough money that within a couple of years, I had enough money added to my small inheritance that I bought a membership on the Chicago Board Options Exchange in 1975. And leaving college there, I went directly to Chicago, and I was a member and market maker there. I was my own boss and started trading, and I was on the floor there for 12 years, also traded on the Chicago Board of Trade.
That's quite interesting for sure. There's definitely a lot in there to unpack and talk about. When you look at astrology for trading, do you look at, I know there's a phase of the moon, what are some of the things you look at to determine whether to get in?
Well, the moon is the moon for day trading, very, very short-term trading, like, for, maybe catch a swing for 5 or 10 minutes. But the bigger cycles are going to determine the bigger swings. So maybe Jupiter and maybe Mars and Jupiter get together every 2 years. And if that happens and the market gets to an extreme, that's the key. You got to have the setup. It's Newton's law. For every action, there's an opposite equal reaction. And so if the market gets to some extreme at that point, then you should, there's a high percentage of the time that market connected to those planets will have a reversal. Mr. Gann, in one of his courses, showed how he had correlated soybeans with Mars and Jupiter. And there's a famous chart, 1948 soybean chart, where Gann shows where Mars and Jupiter are converging, and when we get together, that turns out to be the top of the soybean market. Mr. Gann went short there, rode soybeans down for $1 in 1948, which is $5,000, and in 1948, $5,000 would have bought you a house. If you like, I could put that chart up. I could go get that chart and put it up.
Definitely, I'm definitely curious to see that and kind of, because that's a different style than what I'm usually hearing about.
Let me go find that chart now. There we go. There's the soybean chart in Gann's own handwriting. And how do we get this box all the way? There we go. This is the symbol for Jupiter. Mr. Gann is plotting Jupiter. He converted the degrees of Jupiter to soybean prices. That's 1 penny to 1 degree. And he's showing you how he's plotting Jupiter there. And then down here, I'm going to blow this up even more. Oh, it's already 200%. Well, anyway, this is the Mars line here. And Mars, he's plotting Mars on the chart here. And when they converge right there, That's near the top of the soybean chart. And then you see what happened, and soybeans had a big drop. Okay? This is May soybeans for night back in 1948 in Gann's own handwriting. This book comes from Perry Kaufman's book that came out in about 1978 about different trading systems. And on page 2, for a couple of pages there, around 202, he covered Mr. Gann and had this chart in there. So you can go look it up. I didn't make up this chart. You can go look it up yourself, So anyway, that's pretty good. So this is what I do. And I've been, I do this stuff every month. I've been writing my letter now for 50 years. Oh no, 45 years. Actually 45 years. Been doing my letters since 1978. And I cranked out a letter every month, giving you all the key times for the markets. And I've been averaging for the past 7 years now, since about 2016, over 72% winning the signals. And here's my notes. Here's my bio here. It tells you my history, how I started on the CBOE in 1975, traded on the board of trade, studied all these different methods. I know about Gann, L8 wave, astrophysics, astrology, music cycles, Fibonacci, technical analysis, applied all this stuff to the markets. And there we go. Here's something I do for the stock market. I started out in the stock market. That's my main thing. But I do about 25 other markets, including occasionally some currencies. And here I forecast, this is something that Mr. Bradley did. Bradley is Google Bradley's stock market index. This is the kind of thing Bradley does. We draw a line in advance to forecast the market. And then if we can get this box out of the way there we go. Then I overlay the prices as we go, and you can see I did this like a month in advance. Here's November, starting on October the 30th, and on December the 1st. And you can see it's a pretty good correlation there between the actual prices, the black bars, and that blue line, which I did in advance. You notice this is a symbol for a full moon, and right there you had the full moon, so forth. There's the new moon, and there's a little top there, and so forth. Some other planetary things are on that chart. And then if you want, where are we at on the clock now? Are we getting to where you want me to? I'll save the best for last. I have these forecasts coming up for about 24 hours from now. What's going to happen? We got some pretty important stuff coming up in about a day or so. So if you want, we can talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that could be a good way to get people to see how you look at things also. But it's definitely interesting, the way you look at things there.
I'm on U.S. Eastern time, like New York time. I'm actually in Florida, but same time as New York. And we have tomorrow night a new moon. I told you about the new moons are important for your currencies. I know a lot of your people trade currencies. And so financials, that includes currencies. It's also going to be the stock market, and then the bond market, and your currency, and grains, and precious metals. So you got your gold and your silver. And then also tomorrow night, we have something called Mercury turning retrograde. That has to do with the relative motion of the Earth to Mercury. It's like if you're driving in your car and you're doing 60 miles per hour, and you happen to glance out your side window, you might have, and somebody passes you, you might get the impression that you're going backwards. That's what happens with the Earth occasionally, about 3 or 4 times a year, with Earth and Mercury. It looks like in the sky that Mercury's going backwards. We know that actually, if you look down at the solar system, Mercury doesn't turn retrograde. However, according to Mr. Einstein, everything is relative. So it's all about relative motion. So this is a shift in energy between Earth and Mercury. And this is very important for your grains and for the stock market. And in this case, because it happened in Capricorn, also be looking at coffee. This could be important also for currency. I've never correlated Mercury to the currencies, but we do have the new moon there. And the fact that these two things are occurring within 24 hours of each other, I've researched that too, as a very high batting average, very high percentage for a turn in the stock market. If the stock market has a good setup, you have to have the market move sharply up or sharply down for a setup so you can get a reversal. If we're going sideways, then all bets are off. I don't do sideways. The opposite of sideways is just more sideways. So you have to get a good setup for these. You have to have the market moving up or moving down. The afternoon of the 15th, we have Jupiter aligning with Saturn for cattle, coffee, cotton, and oil. And then the weekend of the 15th, we have Mars at a Mars cycle for corn and gold. So that's about all I have for today. If I don't know, and so if you'd like, you can get a hold of me. I'll explain some of these technical terms, give you a free class if you'd like. You can get a hold of me by calling me if you're in the U.S. I'm in beautiful Naples, Florida, 239-594-3939. That's 239-594-3939. Or you can email me at nwinski, that's NWINSKI at yahoo.com. Or you can call me on Skype at NWINSKI_1. Looking forward to helping some of your folks there.
Now, it's interesting. We can maybe take a few seconds to go to some questions if you want. And by the way, just to tell people, this is recorded on the 11th of December. So people will know the day. They can go back and check what you just talked about if they want. It sounds pretty cool.
If you like, I'll come back in a couple of weeks with more stuff, And I'll do what many market forecasters do not do, which is I will actually show you the charts, how this stuff all came out. If you'd like me to do that, I'll do that.
How does someone who uses technicals use the information for better trading? Do they kind of align what you say with what they already trade, what they're set up already, or how do they kind of mix both?
Time is more important than price. You get to a particular time window, and I have to be right within one trading day to be right. If we get to that time, if the market's moving up, you're looking to go short. If the market's going down, you'll be looking to go long. And you look at your support and resistance levels. And if it takes out a support and resistance, obviously you're going to use a stop loss and get out if it's gone more than it should have, But this works over 70% of the time. And so, if you get a winner, then you just draw a simple trend line. Let's say you go long and the market starts moving up. Just draw a simple trend line under the bottoms. And until it breaks the trend line, you stay with the trade. And then if it breaks the trend line, you get out.
How do you place stops with this kind of method? Do you look at the highs and the lows to place your stops, or how do they work?
Every market is different. So I'd have to go into each market there. I've tried to design a trade based on a risk reward. You want to shoot for probably 5-to-1 risk reward. You want to, if you're risking it and you say, oh, I'm going to buy above this support level here, I'm risking $1. And you look at the chart and you say, what's my potential here if I'm right? Well, you want to be able to say that I think I have the potential here to make $5 if I'm risking $1. Now, you may not make the $5, maybe you only make 2 or 3, but that's what you want for your potential. You don't want to do a trade where it's only 1-to-1 when you first get in, So you have to design a trade where you have a very positive risk reward where you can make a multiples of what you're risking. And then if we have the timing system that I have here, where you're batting over 70%, winning trades, then you got a great probability for success.
You mentioned about Gann a little bit in the interview so far. What do you take away from Gann, and how do you use Gann's principle for trading?
First and foremost, Mr. Gann was an astrologer, astrological. I got that from somebody. Those very words came from somebody who worked with Mr. Gann for 10 years. I had a great privilege to track down a guy who had worked with Mr. Gann for, 10 years. And he told me, first and foremost, Mr. Gann is astrological, as I showed you on the soybean chart. So if you have the right time, you'll have the right price. Just look at the chart there at the right time. And if the market's running up, then you look for a place to sell it. This market's going down, you look for a place to buy it at the right time. The planets tell you when it's the right time. Let's take the all-time as one of the great examples in history. The top in 1929. If you and I had a time machine and we were to go back to August of 1929, I said, My planets tell me that we're going to have a big turn, major turn on the 3rd of September. I don't need to know the price. You don't need to know the price. And if the market's moving up, you will go short, sell everything. If the market's going down, you'll buy big. And what happened was the market rallied big into the 3rd of September, which, by the way, was also a new moon. And that was the top in 29, which led to the crash of 29. Did you need to know the price then? No, it didn't matter. It's all relative. The Dow topped at 389. Did it matter whether it was 375 or 390? No, because it was going to crash. That's it.
A lot of stuff here that's interesting. And
the people that try to predict the exact price in advance, and then the market whips back and forth and whipsaws them to death, that's not good. Because you know why that doesn't work? Because they're not on the right time. Time is more important than price.
So I know you had your contact info on the screen, and people can definitely reach out to you there. And definitely a lot of good stuff that they can learn from you. I know you've been doing this for a long time, and you've been people have been calling you the technical analysis genius or something of the sort, certified technical genius, which is pretty amazing. So definitely a lot of stuff that people can learn from you. Is there anything you want to talk about or focus on before we finish out this interview?
I look forward to helping some folks. Feel free to call me. Best time is right away. I'm on a monthly schedule. I've already started working on my January letters. And so as the closer we get to the end of the month, and in this case we have, the Christmas holiday and all the New Year's and stuff. So I would recommend that you get a hold of me this week. This is the best week to get a hold of me before we get into all the holidays and my publishing schedule and so forth. So I'd like to help some people this week if possible.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time. Appreciate the advice you give to my listeners here. Hopefully we can bring you back at a future point and see how your predictions turned out.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to come back in a couple of weeks and show you how this all came out.